What's going on, everybody? It is your boy Zamboni. I'm a musician and astrologer, and it is time to talk about the astrology of the week ahead. As always, and thank you so very much for being here. Thank you for rocking with me day after day, week after week. Thank you for sending this to a friend if you find it useful. Thank you for going to zambonifong.com. You can get a reading there. You can get an astrology reading. You can get tarot reading. You can get a 10-minute long video reading like this. You can get the super dope merch that goes with the music. You can find the music there. You can find the music on Spotify, Tidal, Pandora, Apple Music, YouTube, wherever you like to get your music out. Bump some funky music as well. You can do all of those things at zambonifong.com. You can go to Patreon and get the electional report where I'll help you to time your business launches or your first date or whatever it is. There's a whole bunch of stuff that you can find there at zambonifong.com. It's fun. Thank you so much for being a part of the journey all of this time. With that in mind, we can take a look here at the, oh, I forgot to mention, if you get a 60 or 30-minute reading at zambonifong.com and you use the discount code for the people, then you can get 40% off this week only. This is it on that. So go ahead and go do that. Let's talk about the astrology of the week ahead. So this week, we have, a couple of fun things are going on here. So remember when Mercury was in Capricorn and then turned retrograde and then moved back into Sagittarius? Well, now Mercury is moving forward again and Mercury has moved back into Capricorn. This actually looks great for Mercury. For the Mercury things in general, there's a couple of things why this is great. First, Mercury is not comfortable in Sagittarius. Mercury is much more comfortable in Capricorn. Sagittarius gets a little bit too many words and like too much things to say and maybe can't follow all of these paths around. Capricorn is very good at sort of putting the reins on and then finding ways to make practical or useful, intelligible information. So Mercury being so good at making intelligible information, especially making a sextile to Saturn in Pisces, and Saturn is the ruler of Capricorn. This looks super like ready to move on stuff and to find ways that are effective to communicate things or to maybe understand things, right? It's important to remember that communication is two ways. It's not just expressing things in an intelligible way, but also when other people are saying things to you or you're reading something, then you might be able to find extra practical applications of that information or knowledge. So this looks really good for the Mercury stuff. We can notice that this Mercury is going to not only make that sextile to Saturn in Pisces, but also the same trine to Jupiter in Taurus that Mars has been doing for this past week. So this past week has been really big Mars move and go energy, right? All of that continues. Mars has already made those aspects and Mercury is going to make both of those aspects, the sextile to Saturn in Pisces and a trine to Jupiter in Taurus. It's going to do both of those. Mars did both of those things last week. Mercury is going to do both of those things this week. This looks, but Mars is still like in range for those aspects, and Mars is still in great position in Capricorn and still doing all the stuff in a really strong and effective way. So this still looks really good for all of the Mars things, especially if we can think about like secretive things or things about, you know, like there's something here about Mercury maybe wanting to be a loudspeaker a little bit and like sort of project communication or something like this. But I actually think that this is likely to be more effective as an internal locus of communication. So if we can think about, you know, we can notice that Mars is still invisible in the sky right now. So Mars, if you look at where Mars is in the sky in Capricorn, then what you're really going to see is the sun. The sun is so bright that it is just outshining everything in Capricorn right now, basically. And so there's no visibility. There's no eyes on Mars. This is true about Mercury as well. Well, Mercury is like, you might be able to catch Mercury like at the very edges, but like there's not a whole lot of Capricorn visibility in the sky right now. And so this, while at the same time being extremely effective, while at the same time being very cooperative in that sextile to Saturn, trine to Jupiter kind of way, seeing all of this sort of stuff moving together looks really good for, you know, for how many weeks now? 2-3 weeks I've been talking about build out your foundation, build out your structures. And so this is not super big like announcement energy necessarily, unless you already have, unless announcements is part, like if you're going to start an email list or something like this, right? Like that could be something to do here. But like that could be a way that you are building out your infrastructure by making announcements, by engaging in communication with your audience, right? That's a way that this might work. But it also may be a good time for you amongst your team inside the squad to find ways to more effectively communicate with one another. Or, you know, because we can also see that Mercury is going to be here with Mars for a while, and we're actually doing Mercury-Mars dynamics like a lot this year. And so to see a bunch of Mercury-Mars here, you know, Mercury is the communicator and Mars is the knife, the blade, the severer, right? And so there's something here that can be something like sharp words, or decisive. Things can be decisive or incisive some kind of way with these two together. That can be kind of difficult and grumpy and angry and stuff. Sometimes, you know, you might be checked under a time like this. You might find that some people have, especially people who have incisive points, might have something to say about how you've been doing your thing or getting down or whatever it is, right? And so this would be a really good time for, let's remember again that communication is both ways. It's both expression and impression. It's both speaking and listening, right? And so there's a certain sense of like, some people might say some things that are incisive, that they have a point. And so it would be good, in order to improve the infrastructure, the facility of the whole thing, of the whole project. In order to improve that facility, it would be good to hear that incisive situation and be like, okay, there is a point there, and so maybe I need to make some changes. Maybe I need to do something differently. Maybe I need to say some different things. Maybe I need to think some different thoughts, think in a different direction. I've been thinking a lot recently about improving a line of inquiry as a way of getting better information, especially at a moment where we don't necessarily know what's true or what's real, or we can't agree on what constitutes a contiguous reality, right? And so if we can't do that, then developing a better line of inquiry might be a good way to do that. And that might be a good way to approach when someone hits you with that like super difficult and incisive point, right? We can also notice that power plays are likely to take place here. This is our last week of Pluto in Capricorn. We will get, I think, 2 more months later in the year, but this is it on this 20-year cycle. Pluto has been in Capricorn since 2008. This is the last week of that. So there's a couple of things here. One is that the sun is there with Pluto. So whenever the sun is with a planet, then there's some kind of like cleansing the dross that comes through, or like getting rid of, you know, burning off the things that haven't been, that have sort of like gotten glommed on there, that have gotten stuck. And Pluto's really glommy, right? Pluto's like gross, and we can think about compost and bugs and this kind of thing, right? So there's a lot of, so the sun is going to be there with Pluto, and is going to make this conjunction to Pluto at 29:59 of Capricorn, and then both of them are going to move into Aquarius for next week. And so there's power plays, there's power moves that are going on here. All of this is still in the space of Capricorn, so it's all going to be around this like practicality or utilitarianism, or like an ability to take something and make it tangible, or take something tangible and make something useful out of it. So not simply abstraction and ideas, which is where we're going with the Pluto stuff. Like, we're going from Pluto in Capricorn into Pluto in Aquarius. Aquarius is very much idea based, very much thinking thoughts, feeling feelings, generating laws, thinking about the nature of humanity or the nature of philosophy or something like that. And so we're moving into that space. But for the time being, this week especially, we're going to be in a place where we're like thinking about how power moves, how each of us is in relationship to that power as an individual, and then moving into this Aquarius space where we're thinking more collectively. What is a group operation of power, and how does that function? It's a very interesting time that we're going into. So let's stay tuned. Thanks so much. Zamboni Funk.